Great.
Okay. In accordance with the open meetings law, New Jersey, NJSA 1049.1, the Lake Hopatcong Commission has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof via electronic notification to the following: the Lake Hopatcong Commission website. Would you stand and join me in a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice
and justice for all.
Thank you. Would you call a roll, please?
Sure. Commissioner Crowley,
Here.
Fish,
Here.
Overcamp, McCarthy, Wazowski.
Here.
Probs,
Here.
Steinbaum,
Here.
Stevens,
Here.
Tessier, Will Susan.
Here.
Blanca Chevrest.
Sorry, here.
Oh, there you go. All right. Gilfillan,
Here.
Hirschfeld,
Here.
Solaro,
Here.
Senator, Zochek, and Smith.
Here.
Just one aside. So Blanca, I called you in the role, but I'm not sure if you're officially going to be filling the position of alternate commissioner for Josh.
I would say for now it's fine. 'cause
Okay. I
she's
just
still
wasn't sure if I could.
Melissa. Yep.
All right. Perfect. Thanks.
We don't need to go in executive session now, or we're going to do it later.
I don't know if we have Murphy on yet, and we can do it later in the meeting.
All right, let's go. We'll do it later. We'll skip by it. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I so moved.
I have an addition.
Whoa. We need a motion in a second before we can discuss it. We have a motion?
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
Okay, now, any comments? Addition, deletion, Fred, you go ahead.
No big deal. Colleen, in the state park updates, you mentioned about a contract that the DEP had awarded, but you never stated what the contract was for.
Okay.
Just if you can, it must have been, I'm guessing it was for the sewer line,
Yeah.
but it's not mentioned. It really should be mentioned in there. That's my only correction.
Okay.
Anything else? Anybody want to add, change? Would you call a roll, please?
One second. All right. Commissioner Crowley.
Colleen, I'm not sure I was at the last meeting and I can vote on it.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to mention that. I don't believe you were. I'd have to go back and.
I believe I missed it.
No, you were there. No, you weren't. Commissioner Zochek was voting for you. Okay. Commissioner Fish?
Yeah.
Alternate Commissioner Solaro?
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
Wazowski?
Yes.
Probs?
Abstain.
Steinbaum?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Tessier?
I'm sorry, I just got on. What are we voting on, the minutes?
Minutes.
Yes.
Will Susan?
Abstain.
And Smith?
Yes. Colleen, if we could back up one item. Murphy's on now. Do we want to go to executive session?
Sure. I think we could do a quick executive session. Yeah.
What do we have to do?
You don't have to do anything, but we do need a motion to go to executive session.
Do I have one?
So moved. McCarthy.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Have you got the public out?
No, and maybe you just want to explain to the public what the executive session is
Okay.
for. Nope. Okay. What is Murphy just listed as iPhone? Do we know?
I don't know what he's on with. I guess he's on with his iPhone because I don't see his name. Let me. He's muted, so I don't know. Did you mute him or is he mute himself?
I think he's muted himself. I'm asking the iPhone to
I
unmute.
told him to talk. I told him he's on. Jesus.
Murphy, where are you?
He said he can hear me, but we can't hear him. He's got to unmute.
Maybe we want to just have the executive session a little later. Do you want to do it now and have him call
If he
in?
can't, I don't want to waste any more time. If we can't communicate with Murphy now, then we'll put it off till later. I just didn't want to let him hang around all night for his 15-minute thing, but
Yeah, he just, all
Murphy,
right, he's
can you-
trying, he's
Murphy,
coming back
Murphy,
in
can
now.
you talk?
I'm back. Okay.
Murph? I don't know what it is. I'm not muted. But I see a muted sign in front of that phone.
Uh,
Yeah, he's trying to connect again.
Yeah,
He must have got disconnected.
Yeah, okay, let him see if he gets back in.
All right, in the meantime, I'll just, I'll set up the executive session.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is for purposes of discussing litigation, right?
Yes. He's trying again, he told me, yeah, okay.
Like your hat, Fred.
thank you. Where's yours?
USA. I'm hatless. I'm indoors.
So am I.
I see that, but you got one of those,
That's no excuse.
an indoor hat.
Murphy said he can hear everyone, but we can't hear him. He's got to be muted.
It says connecting to audio. He's trying, I think.
All right.
Yeah, he just got on. Now he just needs to unmute himself. Can you unmute him, Colleen, from your remote position there? No?
21 participants.
He said he's not muted on his end.
But he is, I can see it there that he is muted. I don't know how to,
Yeah, a little icon of a microphone that you can hit.
I can't unmute him though. Only he can do that. I can mute him, but I can't unmute him.
Well, mute him and unmute him just for the heck of it. Just do it. Just maybe it's a connection.
I'm trying.
Okay, listen, I don't,
Is
I
it
don't
something
wanna
we
make-
have to make a decision on, Ron, or something we can?
he's
wait?
gonna try back later. Let's let it go for now. I don't wanna waste any more of our, he's gonna try back later, he said. Okay,
Find a laptop, Murph. Find a laptop.
all right. We got the treasurer's report and the bill and list of bills.
As of today, we have $310,887.03. There are 12, over half of which are grant. It comes from grant money. And that's all I have.
Okay, does anyone have any question on the bill list? Any of the bills that are on that list? All right, would you call a roll, please?
Crowley,
Yes.
Fish,
Yes.
Solaro,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Ozowski. Ozowski,
Yes.
Probst,
Yes.
Steinbaum,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Tessier,
Yes.
Will Susan,
Yes.
and Smith.
Yes. Do you have any correspondence?
So no new land use applications, although those will start back up again, middle of this month.
Okay.
Tim Clancy sent a letter about the lake level that was discussed last month, the proposals that were discussed. Bruce Friedman from DEP sent notification of an upcoming HABS conference, reached out to all of the grantees of the HABS grant and requested them to participate in the HABS summit this February. And Princeton Hydro sent a revised stormwater ordinance proposal, which Commissioner Tessier will go over later.
Okay, anything else on correspondence?
No.
Okay, so the chairman's report, and I didn't get around much this month. I've been a little under the weather since about the 18th of December, but I did have a short conversation about our budget with Dr. Steinbaum, and I did have a short conversation with Murphy Durkin about the Weldon, which I'll let him bring us up to date. And of course, Colleen and I are talking almost every other day, at least sometimes more than once a day. But other than that, it's been pretty quiet for me. So I'll turn it over to the rest of them. And if the commissioners have anything they want to say.
Yeah, I have two articles from the paper that I'd like to quickly comment on that I found interesting for Lake Hopatcong. The first was from December, and it referred to noticing that in Washington State, salmon were dying, and it seemed to occur after heavy rainfall. The fish would display strange behavior, listing to one side, rolling over, and eventually dying. So they started a very extensive scientific study to find out what the cause was. And it took actually years because they found there were literally 1,000 chemicals that were present in small amounts in the water. And recently they found what it was. It's an antitoxicant called 6-PPD, which is in part of tires. It's in tires. Now, I had always heard that tires were bad for Lake Hopatcong. You know, they stay forever. And I've even asked why and never really got a great answer. But so after heavy rainfall with stormwater washing into the lake, this substance from tires was washing in and killing the fish. And so it's another reason why we should be not using tires anymore for boat bumpers on docks. And Marty, do you remember how many tires did we remove on the last 5-year cleanup?
I'm going to defer to Donna, who I see is online since she runs that program. I think it was more the cleanup before, but Donna, you have that number handy?
We were probably about 1,200 we did for the last cleanup, which was significantly less than the one before.
Yeah, I think it was like 4,500 the one before.
Yeah, it was much higher the first time, but
Yeah.
fortunately a lot of people are using a lot less tires on their docks now. Still the biggest user of them are the marinas.
Exactly, and another reason to discourage their use and try to clean them out. The other article is even more interesting. This came published recently by the New Jersey Sierra Club of all places. And let me read you some excerpts, and I sent Colleen a copy of the full article. Quote, the budget that Governor Murphy signed in September increases the operational budget of the Department of Environmental Protection to $181 million, up from $159 million last year. And it goes into how it restores money that was taken away. Another quote, this is the first year in over a decade that the DEP hasn't been cut, and the budget eliminates some of the raids and one-shots that hurt the environment in recent years. DEP staffing has been cut year after year. With this budget, Murphy has finally given the environment a break. It is the first step to make sure the DEP has the funds for personnel and resources to protect our environment and our health. Investment in the environment is investment in ourselves and our future. Anyway, I found this article startling. We all expected, I certainly expected, the DEP was in real trouble this year, and funding was markedly decreased because the state's in big financial trouble. This confirms what Josh has been telling us about the cutbacks over recent years. But this is very encouraging, and I think it may give us the opportunity to increase our funding, which you're going to find later in the discussion that really is necessary.
Okay, anyone else?
Yes, I have an article I'd like to share.
Sure.
It's a little more encouraging than Fred's. Anyway.
I thought it was encouraging.
Well, your second article was encouraging. Okay. This is about a notice that on December 8th, the House of Representatives passed the Bipartisan Water Resources Development Act, or WRDA, and it's expected to pass the Senate. The bill directs the Army Corps of Engineers to carry out a demonstration project in inland waters of New Jersey for detecting and preventing HABs. So we're getting attention on the federal level. They are aware that HABs close beaches and severely hurt local lake businesses. And they plan to do this by modernizing water resources infrastructure. So that was very encouraging. It ensures that the feds prioritize key issues for New Jersey. So we are getting federal attention and help.
Good.
Great.
Anyone else? Okay, can we move on to Marty, the Lake Hopatcong Foundation? Give us an update.
Sure. Thank you. And good to see everybody. Happy New Year. Okay. Tomorrow we actually have a meeting with DEP. As a result of the last mayor's meeting we had that Ron and Colleen were at, we took a couple issues offline, and tomorrow actually is we're going to cover the issues that involve Hopatcong State Park, such as the rain garden restoration, the sewer line, the dock for the Lake Hopatcong Foundation floating classroom, and also the Hopatcong State Park fountain. So we have DEP personnel with us for an hour tomorrow, and we appreciate that. We're looking at things right now like having a virtual floating classroom program, since we won't have the we'll have the floating classroom in this year, but the school children will not be accessing it. So Donna and her team from the Education Committee are working on a curriculum. So it'll be the next best thing to being there, hopefully, so that the fourth graders don't lose their shot to have that kind of education in our program. And meanwhile, Donna is developing a floating classroom programming for summer for the adults, which we've done in the past, and this may be a bit expanded this summer. We continue to work to incorporate a funding line in the 2022 state budget that would have lakes in it for the first time. This was a part that had made it in the budget in 21, but got knocked out when there were the COVID cuts. So we're hopeful on that. We've been working with a bunch of folks down in Trenton and our local legislators. And on a little different note, we're going to work to put out a water trails brochure on the lake, hopefully, something to encourage kayaking and use of the water that way. You know, perhaps, 4 different routes people could take at the lake, places they could rent kayaks on the lake, things like that, just to, bring some more attention to another passive use of the lake. So we're going to start really working on that. Final thing I have is just some dates. A lot of organizations have been releasing their dates actually a little early this year, since so many of these events were canceled last year. The Hudson Farm Walk, which is called the Hopatcong, but it's Farms Hopatcong Walk, but it's open to folks from all around the lake, and it really does, thanks to the folks at Hudson Farm, raise a lot of money for different local organizations. That's going to be May 15th. The annual native plant sale, which will be at the Lake Hopatcong Station building, our building, is May 22nd. The Antiques Boat Show this year will be June 19th at the Lake Hopatcong Yacht Club. The fireworks this year, believe it or not, are on July 4th. The Boating Regulations Commission will be coming to the Lake Hopatcong Yacht Club on July 14th. Our gala will be July 31st at the Lake Hopatcong Yacht Club. The block party is scheduled now for October 2nd, obviously subject to a lot of things, but we're optimistic at the Hopatcong State Park. And Donna just scheduled our annual hike, which is June 6th, and we're going to try to do some other hikes around that this year, as we mentioned last time, within the spring. So that's it for us.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions, comments for Marty? Dr. Fred, you're up.
All right, thank you. And Marty, just to let you know, if you need, I can send you the original plans for the biofiltration rain garden at the state park. If you need that information, I can send that to you.
Really appreciate it. I know Colleen and Donna have been talking about it. I know we, and just for the rest of you, I mean, that was a project that was funded, oh gosh, about 10 or more years ago. And multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars was spent to develop that rain garden, tying in all the downspouts and all off of the building in Hopatcong State Park. And after a few years, it fell into disrepair and was mowed under. So all the work was done. A lot of money was spent. It would be great to see that a rain garden restored especially now with all the attention on rain gardens. It's just a great project. And we know that there's volunteers within the community that would like to help also with that project. But thank you, Fred. Yeah.
Yep.
I think people are going to want to see those plans so they kind of can tie in exactly what was done originally.
All right, excellent. Yeah, and to restore it, it won't take a lot of time and money. I mean, and when it was operating, it was very effective at removing pollutants, particularly nutrients, before going into the lake. So we just have to get it up and going again. So I'll forward that information to you, Donna and Colleen. All right. Yeah, so I'll just jump into what I have. So earlier today, I forwarded the 2020 water quality report to Colleen, and I'll spend a few minutes going over some of the findings. I do want to say that that report is separate than the HAB report. So we submitted the year-end report, and then I'm hoping before the February meeting, I will be submitting the year-end specific HAB grant report. Related to that, as I believe Colleen mentioned, there's an upcoming HAB summit in February. So we'll be presenting some of that information at that meeting as well. So just to go into a few points I did want to bring up when it comes to the final report. A couple things. One is, if you remember, we're graphing July surface water temperature data, and we have that statistically significant increase in temperature, due to climate change. And, every year we evaluate the dissolved oxygen and temperature relative to both carryover and optimal habitat for brown trout. And because the temperatures are increasing, this is the first year that we've seen not just a temporary loss of optimal habitat, we saw a temporary loss in carryover habitat for brown trout. And that happened in the month of July. It was reestablished in August. But again, this is, some of the impacts we're seeing relative to climate change. So this is concerning. This is something that we'll continue to keep an eye on. But this is how climate change, will affect water bodies in general. So I did want to bring that to everyone's attention. Couple other points I want to make. One is, even though overall conditions in 2020 were generally better than they were in 2019, because we didn't have the huge blooms in 2020 lake round the way we did in 2019, we did see some pretty high chlorophyll A concentrations, particularly in the mid-lake, in spite of having very low phosphorus concentrations. So that's telling us that algae is being produced somewhere. Well, it's not being produced in the middle of the lake in the surface water, so it's either algae being produced in the nearshore areas and floating to the center, or they're being produced, deeper in the water column. And I'm bringing that up because that's one of the questions we'll be answering with the new 319 grant, is we're going to do a very detailed analysis of that 30-year data set we have, and we're going to identify the role of the deep water contributing to algae blooms. So that's something I just wanted to bring up and bring to everyone's attention. The other thing I do want to mention is we did calculate how much phosphorus was removed from the weed harvesting program. Obviously, a very little amount of harvesting was done. Approximately 35 cubic yards of material was removed, which equates to about 6 pounds of phosphorus, which, in the past, that's just a drop in the bucket. In a normal year, we're removing, hundreds of pounds, like about 200 pounds of phosphorus a year with the harvesting program. So it just shows you, the value to the harvesting, not only to open up waterways for recreational use, to keep invasive species under control, but it also helps to remove phosphorus from the water column as well. We also compared data in Station 3, which is River Styx Crescent Cove. We did our July sampling event the day before the aeration system went on, and then we have the August and September data as well. So when we look at that data, in general, the aeration system did its job in terms of keeping the water well oxygenated from surface to bottom. And what we saw was, once the aeration system was on, the dissolved oxygen concentrations through the water column were more consistent. So we had a wide range of dissolved oxygen, higher in the surface, very low at the bottom. But when the aeration system came on, it was more consistent through the water column, which is what you would expect. There was also some observational data that, there was a reduction of plant biomass. So we're recommending for this year, we may want to do an aquatic plant survey like we were going to do in 2019, but once the HABs hit, we put that on the side. I do want to say, though, what we did see is, after the aeration system went on, both total phosphorus, soluble reactive phosphorus, and chlorophyll A concentrations all increased. And again, I just bring that up to emphasize that while the aeration system has value and it does help to improve conditions, we do need to continue to focus heavily on the watershed. So focusing on stormwater, the sewering project in the borough of Hopatcong is going to be very important. Continuing to address both wastewater and stormwater in the long term is really going to help in terms of reducing that nutrient availability. So while the aeration system does help to keep things circulated, we did see an increase in phosphorus and an increase in chlorophyll A, primarily attributed to what's coming in from the watershed and stimulating that algal So those are some of the main points. Again, I forwarded the year-end report to Colleen in a PDF format, and it should be available for everyone to review. Go ahead.
Anything else, Fred?
The only other thing I'll mention is I just a few minutes before the meeting, I sent Colleen the prices for the proposals for 2021. I will forward the proposals to her shortly within a day or so, but more than likely those proposals will be presented to the commission at the February meeting.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Fred?
Yeah, I do. Fred, you used to be able to graph a general graph of the general lake that showed whether we were getting better or worse. I was able just to glance through your report. I didn't have time to read it, but can you comment on that? I didn't see that graph.
Yeah, so the long-term figures are at the very end of the report. And I will just pull them up right now and I'll just describe what we're seeing, because this is really, it's something that we have to keep in mind, especially relative to nutrient control. So, you know, what we do is we look at the long-term water quality from the mid-lake, and that's that long-term graph from the early 90s up to this year. So water clarity in the center of the lake this year was the same as it was in 2019. But and in addition to that, nutrient concentrations, total phosphorus, was still low in the center of the lake. So the average phosphorus concentration in the center of the lake was 0.02 milligrams per liter. So we're below that 0.03 threshold in the center of the lake, but in other areas of the lake, we had higher phosphorus concentrations, and that's what's resulting in some of that additional algal growth. So when you do look at chlorophyll A, what's disturbing for me is that average chlorophyll A concentration this year was the highest chlorophyll A concentration we've seen since the early 90s. So that's telling me if there's low nutrients at the surface of the water mid-lake, but there's high chlorophyll A, that algae is being transported to the center of the lake, either from nearshore areas or from the deep water. And more than likely, looking at the data, it's from nearshore areas. We had some extremely high chlorophyll A concentrations in the River Styx Crescent Cove section of the lake, as well as up in some of the northern areas in Jefferson. So that's telling us we still need to continue to keep the focus on reducing the phosphorus, particularly as it comes into those nearshore areas.
The phosphorus contributes to the chlorophyll A?
Yes, so phosphorus is the primary limiting nutrient for algae, and chlorophyll A is it's a photosynthetic pigment that all algae possess. Now, just starting last year with the HABS grant, in addition to measuring chlorophyll A, we're also measuring a pigment called phycocyanin. And the reason why we're measuring that is that's a pigment that only blue-green algae have, the bad ones, the cyanobacteria. So we just started measuring that last year with the HAB grant. So now we're going to have chlorophyll A, which tells us total amount of algae. And then we have phycocyanin, which measures just a pigment that's biomass associated with the bad algae, the cyanobacteria.
Thanks, Fred. Another question. Station 10, Northern Woodport Bay.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Walden is located, I presume. Did you notice that there was any difference in the quality of the water there as compared to the rest of the bay or the rest of the lake?
Well, what we've been seeing over the last several years are elevated phosphorus concentrations in that section of the lake. Also, again, when I used to be out on the lake routinely, and when I say when I was out routinely, well over 10, 15 years ago, I still get out on the lake, at least I try to get out once a year with our crew. But that section of the lake tends to be cloudier. We used to have what's called Lingbia, which is a deep dwelling algae that would lay along the bottom of the lake. This is, again, 15 years ago. And even though it's a cyanobacteria, it used to stay at the bottom and it would prevent nuisance plants from growing. Well, that algae really isn't there anymore. And a lot of that has to do with that water being cloudy. So we have seen turbidity increase in that section of the lake, and we have seen an increase in total phosphorus in that section of the lake. And I do want to, last point I want to make about Station 10 was way back, one of the operators, one of the managers of the operation group for the commission, Bill Clark, was the one who recommended years ago, hey, you know what, you should start collecting water quality data at that station, where before we were just using the meter and measuring water clarity, but Bill recommended that we start collecting water quality data well over 15 years ago. And now that data is useful because it is showing we're seeing an impact in that section of the lake associated with, more turbidity.
Fred, one more question. Is it possible that these findings could be largely or somewhat due to airborne pollution from the quarry?
It's hard for me to say it's airborne. Watershed activities are absolutely affecting it. I have no data that I can point to that says it's coming in from the atmosphere. We would have to actually be collecting data on atmospheric deposition there to make any sort of claim. I mean, I can at least, from the data we've collected from the watershed and from the lake, I do know that, stormwater is affecting that section of the lake, but I have no data to say whether or not it's airborne.
It's got to be either the air or the stream, right?
It could be both. It could absolutely be both. Again, we have no data.
Is there something that we should be doing to look for that, or is that too far-fetched?
I mean, that's, when I was a grad student at Lake Tahoe in Northern California, that lake is so sensitive to nutrients. We used to do atmospheric sampling. You put these large pan samplers out there, and then you would allow, atmospheric deposition to fall, and then you would collect the samples during non-storm events to get a feel for what's coming in from the atmosphere. I mean, there's methodology associated with that. That's something we could pursue if you're interested in that. And a lot of this would tie into what's going on with the quarry and the legal stuff, but it's something that it can be looked into, and data can be collected.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Anyone else? Maybe it's a good time. Can we try to get Murphy back? Get Murphy with us now? All right.
He's on. He is on. He's muted. So what we could
Murphy,
do
are
is
you muted?
what we've done in the past is we can just call him once we're in executive session and put him on speaker.
Is that what you want to do?
We can do that.
Because I just don't want to let him sit because we might have another half hour here.
Right.
Okay, so can we have another resolution to go back in executives? Do we know that he's there to start with?
He's on. I see him.
He's on.
Yep.
All right.
Make a motion to go to executive session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, can you get us,
wait.
tell us when everybody's closed? Okay. Blanca, are you going to give the state park report, or is Josh?
I'll give it tonight, Ron.
You'll give it tonight? Go ahead, go.
So, the new seasonal that we hired, Tony Ferrucci, the one who is the retired mechanic, he's been working with Mike 2 days a week, working on the equipment. Also, the harvester that was involved in the accident was moved inside last week. We had forest fire actually help us with this. It was a pretty big undertaking. It took 5 people to actually move it inside. Shortly, Mike will start taking a look at the engine and stuff like that to see.
Are we authorized to start cleaning it up?
We got permission to go ahead and get the weeds off and to just check the motor. And
Josh, I will add, they did drain the oil.
Oh, they did, Blanca?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't add that to the report, but they did drain the oil, any water that was there, and they did a few cups of oil just to keep it lubed.
Okay.
Josh, we have something in writing says we can start doing
We
things with
can't-
that machine?
We can't do anything more right now. We're still waiting for one of the lawyers to come and take a look at it. But
Okay,
we did get permission to at least get that bad oil out of there.
that's good. All right,
that-
great.
That way the engine isn't getting any worse. So as soon as
Great.
we can continue, we'll let you know. We're not going to give these lawyers forever, but you got to give them some amount of time. So,
All right,
so we'll let you know as soon as we know more on that.
great.
Mike and Tony are currently working on tightening and shortening belts on the shore conveyors. And we're in the process of, looking at the machinery, figuring out what parts are going to be needed. And then we'll be working on ordering parts. Moving on to the Lake Hopatcong water level. The lake is currently at 7.27 with 28.3 cubic feet per second. The staff opened the gates to 35 inches to increase outflow Saturday due to an increase from runoff and snowmelt. And then just to update on the state park sewer line project, staff did meet with the contractor on January 6th, and staging of equipment and materials will begin this week. Contractor is still waiting on some permits to begin work, and they're hoping to be completed by May 21st, so before Memorial Day weekend this year. And then regarding the CAC, we aren't having a meeting in January because we're giving time for the scientists to gather up information on the questions that we've asked of them.
You're cutting out, Josh.
Okay. So we didn't have a CAC meeting in January. How do we have it?
Josh, I think it's where your microphone is, maybe your hand is on it or something, because it sounded like you were good and then. Is that better?
Better or no?
Never mind, I was wrong.
Blanca, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you just give the update on the CAC?
Yeah, the CAC,
Yeah.
you're back in.
Can you all hear me or no?
Yes, now you can.
Okay, now I'll
Yes.
say it quick. So we didn't have a CAC meeting in January. However, we're hoping in February to have the DEP scientists answer the questions that we've asked. So more to follow on that. And that's all I have.
Okay. Anything else then from the state park or DEP?
No.
Nope. Okay, we got an update on the grant. Colleen, is there something on the grant update?
Not really much to update since last meeting. It's kind of
Okay.
slower right now.
How about the land use committee?
That would be
Can I interrupt? I'm sorry. I had a question for Josh. I didn't realize I was muted. Josh, I'm sorry.
Sure.
What about the wheat harvest for this year? You stated that we don't know when they're going to complete the investigation, and then you thought that they would have to rewrite the rules for the use of the harvesters.
Yeah, the procedures.
Can you give us a projection when you think you could be on the water?
It's all going to depend on the timing of this report. So, if we get the report in the next month or so, we probably can be on the water. But if it gets much later than that, I think it's going to be hard to pull all this off. So,
Yeah, Ron, we had discussed back in.
Yes, we'll have a meeting. We'll get together.
Yeah, we need to have an alternate plan.
Yes. Yeah, we do. I agree, Fred. Okay, anything else? All right, we got any new items, Colleen?
Oh, Land Use Committee.
Oh, land use. Yeah, we didn't get to that. You're right. We got interrupted. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Robert.
No, that's okay. Yes. The Land Use Committee has, I think, had 2 meetings with Princeton Hydro, Fred and his able scientists, designers, and our 2 planners. And the planners really have been asking for a bridge between the science of the lake and the phosphorus loading and the watershed. And the development activities and land use decisions. So we put together, and I think was in your package, for Princeton Hydro put together a proposal to try to give a report that the planners can use to look at ordinances and recommendations and make arguments with regards to better land use decisions or future land use decisions that can help protect the watershed. Everyone had, can I share? I can share the screen maybe?
You should
Host
be able
disabled
to.
screen share.
You should be able to share your screen.
It says host participant screen sharing. Okay. Screen share. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Darn. Okay, so I thought I had that figured out for this meeting, but I can just pull it up real quick and I can share my screen.
Okay. Anyway, so we got a proposal and the Land Use Committee agreed to bring it forth before the commission, try to get this project moving. This report could be used to build a case for stricter standards, alternative ecological design, and there it is. Good. Okay. Can you make it a little bit bigger? Where are my glasses? Oh, right.
Doesn't everybody have it in their packet?
Yes. But I thought I'd go over it quickly. So the idea of the project is ongoing land development and redevelopment in the drainage basin is regulated by municipalities. And these developments are having some deleterious effects on the nutrient levels in the lake. And then you can scroll down, Colleen. And then in addition, the stormwater rules have changed from the county and all the towns are changing their stormwater rules. So these provide us an opportunity to look at updating some land use regulations for municipalities or proposing that and proposing some amendments to the stormwater rules. You can scroll down, Colleen.
She's at the end, isn't she? No?
No. Task 1. Okay. So in order to make our case for impervious stormwater management ordinances and green infrastructure suggestions and requirements, we need to quantify the effect to help quantify the direct connection between stormwater management and lake quality. And this is where Princeton Hydro will help us by giving us that first bullet point, some detailed information on non-point source solution and how it affects the lake, and some documentation on cumulative impacts. So I think what we're looking for is like how much phosphorus loading from 10 additional square feet of impervious coverage. So we can actually then talk about what the difference for each land use decision makes within the whole watershed. And they're going to give some documentation about these cumulative impacts, how we've, it's led to HABs and those issues, and some environmental impacts of land development. And you can scroll down, Colleen. The second is Hinson Prado is going to pull together existing designs of green infrastructure applications that are relevant to Lake Hopatcong. You can scroll down. That we can look at and or scroll over. We can look at including in projects. So we're going to look at 6 representative applications. I think the board brought up a few of them: large commercial and small residential, close to the water and away. We haven't selected them yet, but Colleen will work with our committee, will work together to get these 6, and they're going to look at what could have been done, what was done right, what was done what opportunities were missed to make a better impact. And they're going to give us some costs for recommended mitigation measures, such as requiring all the stormwater catch basins to have filters, what the costs are, what kind of vegetative swales, green roofs, underground storage, rain barrels, vegetative water edge applications, rain gardens. So we're going to get some general cost parameters and some standard type designs. Then in the final task in the project is preparation of green infrastructure document. So they're going to give us a document from 1 and 2 and make some recommendations, and task 4, some guidance on ordinance updates. So hopefully then we'll have some scientific basis for saying, hey, I'm not saying this is what we'll conclude. Every roof, should run into a rain garden. I mean, to run into a rain garden, or should run into a rain barrel. And that would reduce the phosphorus loading by X. Any new roofs, new square footage. So we're not there yet, but the planners weren't able to develop ordinance without having this background supportive information. You can scroll down, Colleen. Is that it? 3? There's a cost part too, right?
Yeah, I know. I think because I'm so zoomed in. There we go.
And there would be a cost to prepare this report, but I really think, and maybe the land use committee members can speak up too, their opinion, that this is worth the investment, because this is really going to give us a solid document, which we'll have a chance to review the draft form too, right, Fred, before it's finalized. And then we can use this to develop ordinances and better regulations to protect the stormwater basin, and also to promote these things with the municipalities. So that's all I have to say. I don't know, Fred, did you have anything to add, or any of the other members on the committee?
You basically hit everything. I mean, I just want to mention that, what we would be doing is pulling as much information as we can from, the scientific literature, focusing heavily as much as possible on New Jersey's information. And if there's something that for a specific technology or a specific BMP we can't get that information for, we'll expand into either other states, New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, or federally. But we'll try to stay in this region in terms of the science, so that we know we're applying some type of technology that was designed for the Mid-Atlantic states.
And we'll be looking at 6 specific projects that have already been completed, their site plans, their layouts, and the engineering reviews.
Correct.
Any committee members have any comments?
Yeah, I'll say I think that bridging the science of water quality and zoning is a really important start to being able to develop those smart ordinances that are actually going to make a difference. So I fully support it.
Yeah, I think it's good. I'm wondering, being the budget guy, whether this will end up in more cost for our planning consultants that we had budgeted, because of the work, the extra work that they'll need to do to carry these forward.
Well, where are we with that budget, Colleen? I think we're still way below what we had put aside, right?
We have $6,000 budgeted for the planners going forward.
So you're short 10,000.
Yeah. So.
Well, no. So we have 6,000 for the planners, but this would fall under actually Princeton Hydro's budget. So the budget for the planners would be for them to do the land use, like the typical land use application review, and to write this ordinance. So we need to have confirmation from the planners that they can work within that budget to complete those tasks.
They're going to work within this budget.
No, within the $6,000 budget.
We've got 6,000 remaining, so we have to only
Yeah.
I mean, they can always spend that, but they could also use this report next year and do more work,
Right.
you know? But I mean, we have to have this as the
No,
foundation.
if we're looking at so in everybody's packet was a budget for fiscal year 22. That's for next year going forward. So
Okay.
that budget for the planners for fiscal year 22 is $6,000. So
Okay, got it. And for this year,
I'd have to look and see what's left.
I think we have some left though.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
We'll just have to use them as wherever, you know. They need this to make that 6,000 useful.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is worthwhile to go ahead.
Okay, do we need a motion to move ahead and accept this proposal?
I don't think that we do because it's included in the budget.
Okay,
Right.
fine.
It
Okay,
would be included in the
Wait,
budget.
is it,
anybody have anything else about this
I have a
proposal?
question from Colleen. What
Yeah.
do you mean it's included in the budget?
So in the,
They can start now? Don't we have to accept the proposal?
They have to send us a contract, I believe. I think we need to vote on going ahead and then waiting for their contract. And then
okay.
Wait till we get the contract, we just vote and accept the contract.
I was thinking that because it's included in the budget for the year, it wouldn't need to be voted on twice, but I think it's either way is fine.
For this year?
Mhm.
Well, voting on the
Right.
budget is different than voting on individual contracts.
Right. So I make a motion that we accept this proposal and direct Fred to send us a contract, which then we'll look at.
Well, hasn't task one been done dozens of times in the past? Why do we need to repay for that?
You've already done task 1, Fred?
Well, it says to compile environmental information on the importance of green infrastructure to Lake Hopatcong. I mean, that's. I mean,
We're
obviously,
we're
you
looking
might need
for
to
it in a,
Hasn't that been done in the past? You would think it would have been done in the past, since
That's why
stormwater is
it's-
probably the #1 cause of pollution for Lake Hopatcong.
Yeah, but it's updating the technology, number one. And number two, it's pulling information on the cost of the HABs and the costs associated with the in-lake actions. So you're right, we have done a number of educational programs that we've described the importance of non-point source pollution and how to deal with it. But what this is looking to do is to actually put some numbers behind some of that stuff. And for example, it's saying document the cumulative impact. So it's putting numbers on it as well as.
Right. But we're trying to convince the municipalities, aren't they more or less already on board for this kind of stuff? So moving into tax 2 would be the things that they would want to know.
But at the same time, I think what it is it's
Right,
at any municipality.
You need it. If you need it, you need it.
Yeah. I mean, what we're just thinking of as a general
I understand
audience.
it makes it seamless. And
Yeah, it would just be having that
beginning
information.
point to an ending point, and yes, okay.
so should we direct joint, did I make a motion? Is that appropriate, or a motion just to accept the proposal and ask Fred to pull together a contract, and then we'll look at that next month?
Second the motion.
Any discussion? Anybody, any questions, discussion? Let's call a roll, please.
All right, I missed who had the second on that.
I did. Steinbeck.
Fred,
Thank you. Commissioner Crowley,
Yes.
Fish? Commissioner Fish?
You're muted.
Okay, yes.
Thank you. Solaro,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Wazowski,
Yes.
Probs,
I don't see her.
he's frozen.
I see her.
You're muted, Ann.
See the little red,
That darn mute.
Okay, you are muted.
Now you're unmuted.
now you're unmuted. So Probs,
Say yes.
Yes.
Steinbaum,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Tessier,
Yes.
Will Susan,
I pretended I was muted. Yes.
Thanks, Eric.
Really funny.
Smith.
Yes.
I'm just going to start using Ryan if you keep it up. So
All right, do we want, now we need to open to the public?
Wait. The budget committee report, I think is next.
I didn't see it on the agenda, but go ahead.
It's there.
It's here.
Okay.
All right, let me tell you how this came about. I've been signing, I'm one of the co-signers on the big checks for the committee. And I've been signing a lot of checks over the last few months. And I find that I'm having more and more difficulty following exactly what the checks are for. And I'm getting more and more uncomfortable. And I think, as I think about the big picture, that we really have been having inadequate financial reporting.
We need to change the chart of accounts, I think is what we need to do.
Yeah.
That breaks up the budget into various categories.
Right. So I asked to get together with Todd and Colleen in a preliminary meeting, just because, you know, Colleen, Todd works with her all the time in order to help prepare the financials for our annual audit. It's a lot of work. Anyway, I argued that I thought we should have two checkbooks, one for grants, one for our general account, which the commission had in the good old days. And they convinced me that that would be more difficult and we could do it with one checking account, but have three separate columns, three separate sections.
Account, you have to have three different fund codes, yes.
Right, and this would lead to a monthly sort of an executive summary, a management report that would produce by Colleen, along with help from Todd, and the treasurer would deliver it. So that each check would be marked in separate categories: general, grants, capital improvements. And that each report would be distributed as part of your packet before each meeting. And again, this is for clarity, get all the members more involved and to understand exactly what's happening with our funding. It gives the treasurer more responsibility in supervising and reconciliation and all this stuff. But Colleen has a great idea, and she's working on obtaining an online banking account for us so that the treasurer will have access to all the bank statements, so that this will make his job a lot easier. It will bring us all more up to date. So in your budget handout on the third page, and I don't know if you can put it up, Colleen, the one that's labeled Lake Hopatcong Commission Sample Updated Bill List. Can you put it up for the members that may not have it?
yes, just give me 1 second here.
Take your time. We've been driving Colleen crazy, in case you're interested.
All right.
Great. Now, this is a sample. These numbers are meaningless, but we wanted you to see how it should look.
They're not meaningless, Fred. They're breaking it down. It's a good report.
Yeah.
It's the numbers themselves.
It's, yes, the total cash in the account is listed in the first column.
Right.
The general operations is listed in the second column, and board designated capital fund. Now, some of you may not remember, but in our budgets, we've been putting aside $25,000 each year. We now have a total of $75,000. That's a true figure. That's for a capital fund for capital or emergency expenditures. For instance, something like having to buy a new motor for this weed harvester. That's the type of thing that we would use this fund for. And then the last column will be grants, and that will show us how much cash is available in our grant account. And on either side, you'll have an outline of where the money comes from and or where it's got to go. So that's the idea going forward. We hope to start doing this in a more meaningful way with the next meeting. Are there any concerns or questions about this?
Fred, this is from an accounting, I do this all the time. This is absolutely perfect. This makes it clear. The funds are segregated and it gives everybody all the information.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, nice job, Fred and Colleen.
It wasn't me. It was more Colleen and Todd.
Great.
But we really needed it. Now,
yeah, you did.
let me next direct your attention to the Princeton Hydro contracts. That's Colleen, can you put that up? I wanted everybody to be aware of what's going on because this is really becoming our second largest expenditure. And there it is. You can see what it's been for, what we spent on prior years, and what the projection is for fiscal year 22, which you'll see it in the proposed budget. And you'll notice that it's increased significantly. The main reason for the increase is the stormwater ordinance review, which we included, which was just presented. That's assuming we accept it. And now what that does, and any questions about this?
Fred,
sorry, go ahead.
Is any of the money in any of these budgets payable from the grants?
No, this is all separate from
It's
the
all
grant.
general operating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that answers my question.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
if we could get any grants to pay for any of this stuff, it would have been great. If they're eligible under that stormwater ordinance review, if we could have got something out of the Highlands Council, it would have been good.
Some of it counts towards our monetary match though for the HAB grant, so.
Yeah, that is a good point that for last year and this year's water quality monitoring, last year's monitoring is a match toward the HAB grant. This year's monitoring is a match to your new 319 grant.
Okay.
Anything else on this?
No.
Okay, Colleen, could you put up the proposed budget?
Sure. I'm just going to add one thing here, though. Fred, just as the meeting was going to get started, I think, or shortly before, sent over the new contracts for this year, and some of these prices for fiscal year 22 will increase based on the numbers that he sent. So I'll provide those tomorrow. I'll send them out to everybody.
Is there much of a significant change?
I think it's going to be a couple $1,000. Yes.
Okay.
I'll have to, total it. I didn't have time.
Yeah, Colleen, we can talk tomorrow about the details on that as well.
Okay.
We may have to negotiate here a little because you've just blown my budget, Fred.
Well, and again, it got sort of weird in that the monitoring, we're proposing some additional monitoring that essentially adds $400 per event. And there are 5 events. So that's where that 2,000 comes from. But again, Colleen, you and I can talk and we'll negotiate. We'll work.
We got to negotiate it. You're going to embarrass me with present my budget in about 10 seconds. Anyway.
We're also adding aquatic plant monitoring, right?
Right.
Yeah,
that's being suggested. So again, that was something we were going to do about 2 years ago. Once the HABs hit, that was taken off the table. So I know because of this year, how the plants seem to bloom early and then sort of dissipate through the course of the season, people were asking questions. So that's why we added that back on there.
Anything else? Colleen, would you put up the proposed budget, please?
Sure. This?
Can you fit the whole? Great.
There you go.
Okay. So you see fiscal year 21, fiscal year 22, and as you go down the list, materials and supplies are the same. By the way, we have been saving money because we have less expenses because we don't have an office. And I forgot to ask Josh about how that's coming along. Josh, when I'm done, maybe you can let us know how those repairs are coming. The last thing I think you told us was they found asbestos, and that was setting you back.
Well, I can let you know that they did start prep work on Friday, and they started the abatement today. But we don't have really a timeline just yet. I'll find that out probably tomorrow as to when they will be done. But yeah, the office is pretty much shut down for the near future. But yeah, they did start finally. They were supposed to do that. This was all supposed to be done by now, but there were a number of delays. But they are working now.
It's saving us a little bit of money, but it's really hampering our efficiency, not having a location, not having an office.
Yeah, I bet, for us too.
Yeah. So anyway, going along, services other than personnel, 4,100 down from 4,600. We saved a little bit of money there. Professional services, administrative services has gone up. That's for our administrator. Accounting and payroll has gone up slightly. And the planning consultants, the $6,000 that you heard about earlier. So the professional services is up about $13,000. Consulting services, you saw that figure from Princeton Hydro, the $62,470, and the capital improvements, again, putting in $25,000. Now, this does not leave us with our usual $355,000 for weed harvesting. That's where we got the extra money. We took it out of the weed harvesting budget for a couple of reasons. The budget committee which met, and thank you for the other members, but we felt that it's unlikely that the DEP will be able to start harvesting on time. We don't even know for sure they'll be able to do it at all. We suspect that we might be hiring outside people. And so we're projecting that the needs for that budget are going to be significantly less. And so we ended up with a balanced budget of $500,000.
Perfect.
Yes. Second time you used that word tonight, Ron. Thank you. Anyway, any questions? I think we.
How is it 556 last year or this year?
How was it five? Well, we received.
We received money from the year before left.
Right.
That they owed us.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. But we don't see that we're going to get more than the 500 this year.
Well, it's coming directly. It's coming directly to us now, Fred. So there's no money for them to hold to give to us.
The anxiety I have about that is if you read the Jersey papers every day, they're closing more motor vehicle offices every day. And since we're dependent on boating user licenses, I wonder whether they're going to be able to collect and whether we're going to get our 500.
They're doing it online. You know, I got my driver's license online.
Everything's online. Your boat registration too.
They're going to want to use the boats. They got to get the license. It's not going to be a problem.
Even for first applications, you're able to do it online.
I guess.
Yeah.
They waived a lot of things.
That's
more brick and mortar.
Yeah, that's reassuring. So I won't have that worry. I think that it's one of our resolutions that will be coming up in a few minutes. Can we vote on this now? as a resolution?
Approve the budget for 2021, 2022?
Colleen, isn't that one of the resolutions in our packet?
No.
No,
No.
No.
Yes, it's
Nope.
2103.
What?
Meeting date.
2103, resolution 2103. Budget approval.
oh, budget, yes, absolutely.
It's right here. I have it.
Absolutely.
Right. Ron, I think we can vote on that now, no?
All right, are you, is the rest of the commission comfortable voting on the budget, or do you want to look at it some more?
I'm
Two
good.
comments. I think pursuant to our statute, we need eight affirmative votes to pass this, number one. And number two, do we solicit public comment before voting on resolutions?
No, because we can't change the 500,000. That's what the state at this point is obligated to give us, no more, no less. So there's no in between. We can always make budget transfers if we want to move money from one category to another. But the bottom line, the 500,000, we're locked on.
Well, we're not required to get public input for that.
No, we're not. No,
No.
there's no public hearing on the budget. Absolutely not.
Let me just add that there's no requirement anymore for us to send in a budget as there was before. The way we're getting our funds, I'm told it's no longer a requirement, but we have been doing it every year. We think it's proper. And actually it was supposed to be in, I think, in November or December. So
I think it's proper to do it now, and they may change their mind and ask you for it, and then you'll already have it done. So that'll be good.
yeah, so I think really it's, if there's no objections, we should vote on it tonight.
Well, I have a problem with that. Is there a motion to approve the budget for 2020, 2021? Or is it 2021 and 2022?
2022. So moved.
Second.
Any comments, questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Crowley,
I'm going to vote yes, and I think it's always important to have a budget to work from.
Yeah.
Fish,
Yes,
Solaro,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Wazowski,
Yes.
Probs,
Yes.
Steinbaum,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Tessier,
Yes.
Will Susan,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Okay. We have any other business before we go to the public hope?
Yes. One, lake level proposals.
Okay.
Here we go again. First of all, I'd like to comment.
Didn't we pass that? Didn't we pass that?
We thought we did. We thought we did, and I want to compliment Dan. But Dan, you should be our ex officio proletarian. Where is he? I can't see your face.
I'm here. I think we passed one of the two.
Yes, we passed the second proposal
60,
to continue the 5-foot drawdown every 5 years. That passed with no difficulty. We thought we passed changing from a 22-inch to an 18-inch yearly drawdown. The vote was in favor, but we stood corrected by Dan and Tim Clancy, who pointed out, and I checked the bylaws, and to pass, where is it now? To pass anything, you really need 6 votes. So
Okay.
abstentions, really, we had a bunch of abstentions. Abstentions count as a negative vote. And so we didn't have 6 positive votes. So I'd like to briefly discuss it again and ask for a revote on this proposal. If that's all right with the chairman.
Sure, absolutely.
Anyway, in reference to Tim Clancy's letter, first of all, he's always passionate about whatever he advocates, and I actually I'd like to thank him for his input it shows people are tuning in and getting involved with lake issues. So I think that's a positive thing. That's something we've wanted. And again, let me briefly give some history again. I'm sorry to do it, but I have to. When I first came to commission meetings, before I was on the commission, the big discussions were about the lake level. And there was fighting at every meeting. Three separate groups wanted separate things. The people on Lake Hopatcong wanted the water kept in Lake Hopatcong. They didn't want it to be obligated to allow much to go downstream if there was a drought. The business people, the restaurants, the marinas didn't want any drawdowns. They wanted the lake at full level all the time, so their seasons couldn't be compromised. And the lake dwellers wanted drawdowns of some kind. And this didn't end up in a lawsuit. And as a result of that, the CAC was formed, which is a committee to advise the DEP on what the community suggested. And this has come up now because you may not realize, but the DEP is in the situation now of making a new 10-year plan. It's a 10-year plan for the lake level. And so it's significant because it's usually only changed every 10 years. And so that's kind of what this is about. My proposal is basically, I met many times with the people that sued who wanted no drawdowns. And I got them, I think, to accept some compromises. And so a lot of what I presented is a compromise position. That's part of the background. But I want to also say some personal things about this. I don't think there's any documented proof that lower water in the lake reduces ice damage. Okay, and I'll give you two experiences. And I've been a lakeside dweller for 74 years. I should be ashamed to admit it. First, I was in Mount Arlington when in the 50s, during a 36-inch drawdown, we lost 2 concrete docks that supported a boathouse. This was due to expanding ice. In those days, there were no ice eaters or bubblers, and nobody was really protecting their structures. And I'll never forget it because I was a teenager and I spent weeks and weeks helping my father take the boathouse apart board by board because we were hoping to rebuild it someday, which never happened. Subsequently, in the 60s, I moved across the lake to Hopatcong. And at that time, there were still 36-inch drawdowns, significantly more than we have now. The ice, again, the dock was not protected. The ice, again, destroyed our concrete dock. And as a result, I built simple wooden docks, which I literally rebuilt every year. It wasn't until more recently when I built the commercial dock and protected it with the use of ice eaters. So I had 2 failures and complete failures up to that time. Now, more recently, I had 2 more failures. The first was during a 5-foot drawdown. During a 5-foot drawdown, when it was too shallow to use ice protection and the expanding ice moved the 2 steel retaining poles that supported the dock. That was during a 5-foot drawdown. Most recently, despite using 2 ice eaters, a large ice sheet crushed the dock and required repairs that could only be done in a 5-foot drawdown. So even with protection and the drawdown I had destruction. So again, I repeat, nobody has ever shown that lower levels mean less ice damage. The ice damage principally occurs in 2 ways: by direct expansion of the ice contacting and clinging to the dock, and then usually pushing it in, pushing it up. And I would propose that it's safer to have more water in the lake. And let me tell you why. The lake is shaped like a bowl. It's not a swimming pool. You see my hands? The sides come up like this, just like that. So that when you have less water in the lake and you have heavy rain, the lake rises exponentially. When you have higher water and you have heavy rain, because of the bowl effect, it doesn't rise as much. And one of the causes of ice damage is when we do have a heavy rain, when there's ice on the lake, and then the ice is forced up and it pushes and destroys the dock. And then the fellow at the dam tries to lower it again, and the same thing happens again when it's lowered. There's less fluctuation when there's more water in the lake. So that's one way. The other way that the docks get destroyed is when the ice breaks up at the end of the season with massive ice flows. And there's just no way to protect any dock or seawall from that, no matter what you do. So again, what is the purpose of reducing the annual drawdown? And we're talking about 4 inches here. And let me point out, right now, you heard what the lake level is. It's 1 inch above what it's supposed to be because of weather and ice melt and stuff and snow melt. So the reasons to reduce the drawdown is there's more chance of a full lake in the summer. There's less mishigas, if anybody knows that word, or craziness about when the refill should start. There's more water in the lake, and that mitigates the effects of ice lift because of the bowl effect that I went into. And probably the most important reason is a fuller lake is a healthier lake. There's less algae, less weeds, more mixing, less halves, less chance of halves. Also, another reason is it makes the downstream people happier. They get more water, cleaner water, more flow, and better fish preservation. And it puts less emphasis on the exact function required of the DEP. There's less manipulation, and it should be a welcome thing because you're allowing it to be more like nature wanted it. So I'm again suggesting that we reduce it from 22 to 18 inches annually, and that's the reason. I'm sure there'll be more discussion.
I have a question.
Yes.
Water level management planning has always been the CAC's responsibility. And now they haven't even been included in this change, or?
Let me put it in perspective. The responsibility is really the DEP's. They have the final say. We have almost no say as a commission, unfortunately. Right. I want that to be clear to everybody. Whatever we vote for or against, it goes on the record. It goes to the DEP. It'll be presented at a CAC meeting, but we're advisory. We can't make any decisions. The CAC, in the same way, is represented by people around the lake, just like this commission, all kinds of stakeholders. And they also are advisory. They can't make the decisions. So we really don't have a heck of a lot of input. Last time this came up, the commission voted on the proposals that I presented, which I thought we did last week anyway. But we don't have a lot of say, like we don't on many things. So that's some perspective for you.
Okay, I think I'm having a deja vu moment here because I thought we discussed this ad nauseum last month. So I'm going to keep my comments as brief as I can. This problem with ice creep, I see this as a problem. The higher the water level is in the winter, the more risk there will be to lakefront structures. I think I invited my fellow commissioners to look at the pictures in the water level management plan last time. One thing that was left out of the discussion tonight is the effect of spring rains on downstream users, or downstream folks, Hackettstown in particular. If the lake is lower, the thought always was, for the annual drawdown, that there's less risk of flooding downstream. Again, the other thing, as I said last time, and as Fred said earlier, this drawdown used to be 36 inches, then it went to 30 inches, then 26. And the Lake Water Level Management Plan currently has the level at 26 inches for the annual drawdown. We are currently experiencing a pilot program, which brings it down to 22. We have absolutely no data, reporting, or feedback from the pilot program. And again, once again, this year so far, we're experiencing a winter, which is not really a winter. So we keep tinkering with this water level in the middle of the pilot program. Let's let the pilot program results come in. Ice flows and things like that, the lower the level of the lake, the lower the level of the ice. When an ice sheet is coming across the lake, acres in size, I think the less risk of damage that there is, because there's less in its way. So I think we should let the CAC continue its work, and I think we should have the results of the pilot program come back.
Dan, I'd like to just show you something on the pilot program. You've argued the pilot program went into effect in the winter of 2015-16, and the claim was that we never had a hard freeze after that, so people didn't report ice damage because there wasn't a hard freeze. And can you guys see this picture? Can you make me bigger, Colleen?
Right?
Can you make me bigger so I can show this picture? Is there some way?
Everybody can see it. Yep.
Can you see this? You can. This was the winter of 2018. There's, I think, 18 ice boats lined up to start a race on the lake. The whole lake was frozen that year, and there was no increased complaints of ice damage. And this was during the pilot program. So we did have a complete solid freeze, quite solid.
Well, the ice wasn't very thick that year, because I don't have my ice records in front of me, but I have records going back to 1980 for the thickness of the ice in Davis Cove in the main lake. And we have not had a meaningful, significant thick ice winter since 2013 to 2014 and 2014 to 2015. Those are the last two real substantial winters we had. That's when the polar vortex thing came into vogue. So I don't know how thick the ice was that year because I don't have my records in front of me, but there was not a lot of ice creep in 2018. The last real ice creep was those two winters from 2013 to 2015.
There was enough ice that we almost had the North American Championships DN Ice Boat Regatta on Lake Hopatcong. Because
that was 2018?
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with water level. Whether the water's high or low, you're still going to get ice if it's cold.
No, the point was that they said there was never a hard freeze once the level was lowered from 26 to 22. And I'm pointing out there was a hard freeze.
We didn't have any ice creep in 2018 because if we did, I would have documented it. I would have taken pictures. I can send pictures around tomorrow of the ice creep from previous years when it was really bad. And in fact, as I said, there's actually several pictures I took that they're in the current water level management plan. You can go see it for yourself if you haven't done so already.
Dan, I'm just going to say that to me, the main issue here is about the lake and the haves and climate warming. And I think that it's clear that the lake is healthier when there's more water in the lake. And it's better for the downriver people. And I think it's enough said. We're talking about 4 inches, and whatever.
And that 4 inches is just going to go over the dam in the spring.
If we're lucky, it should.
When we're lucky, every spring it goes over the dam.
Except when we have a drought and
well, how many times since we've been keeping records has the lake not recovered from an annual drawdown?
Once or twice, that's all.
I can hardly think of any times. I mean, it's always come back and hit the high water level full pool or just almost at full pool. We've never had a problem. The 2 times we had problems during the 5-foot drawdown were when the plan itself wasn't followed in 87 and like 2007 for the state police dock and the landing dock issues respectively.
Yeah, this is a bad policy suggestion. And, to read one line from Tim Clancy's letter, this suggestion is absurd and I have no idea why this is even being brought forward. And I agree with that. This is This is ridiculous. If anything, we should be advocating moving it back to 26 inches. That should be our recommendation to the CAC.
If that's a motion, I second it.
All in favor?
So, I'd like to hear Josh. Josh, what's the DEP's take on this? Josh, I can't hear you again.
Yeah, that's all right. How about now?
Yes.
I mean, this is why we're doing the CAC right now, to get all this feedback. And then we'll go from there.
Well, all right. I make a motion that we accept the proposal reducing from 22
Oh,
to
so
8.
this needs to be reconsidered by a member who voted against. That's how.
There's-
that's how this
Back on the
works.
table, somebody that voted no has to put it back on the table.
Really?
Yes.
For it to be up for reconsideration.
Where does it say that in our bylaws?
It's in Robert's.
Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay. Dan, why don't you put it up so I can get it down properly?
I
Can we move on?
I
This is
respectfully
ridiculous.
decline that
Wasting time.
invitation.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
I respectfully decline that invitation.
I think you're the only one present who voted against it.
Well, that's true.
Can an abstainer bring it up?
No, has to be somebody voted no. The motion would be to reconsider. All right, we don't have anybody to put it up. Fred, we have to move on.
Okay.
Next, what's next on the agenda, Colleen?
The only thing I wanted to quickly just mention that I did go back and forth with Fairview Insurance about our insurance policies. There were some
Yeah.
questions about it, and she justified the additional expenses. I could go back through and send out just an update to everybody about why those increases were made.
Good.
But yeah, so that's been worked out, and it was included in the bill list.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we've been open to the public now?
Okay.
Yes. If anybody from the public would like to comment, there's a reaction button there on the bottom of your screen. If you could just click that so that not everyone's speaking at once.
Hi, this is Donna from the I live in Lake Hopatcong. I'm a resident. I'm representing myself and not the Lake Hopatcong Foundation where I am employed. I'd like to commend the commissioners for passing the proposal by Princeton Hydro for the stormwater ordinance review. However, I'd like to address my comments to Commissioner Wilsusen and Commissioner Crowley and the other representatives from the municipalities that serve on this commission. $16,500 is a substantial amount of money for the commission. And I would just like to ask all the municipal representatives that you bring this information back to your planning boards or your zoning boards or whatever they're called, to ask them to seriously take into consideration the document that Princeton Hydro will be preparing, because we've all been involved with lake management and the care of Lake Hopatcong for many, many years. And we know in our hearts that, less development and watching what we do along the lakefront properties and within the watershed and installing green infrastructure will help improve the lake water quality. So I would like to ask that commissioners for the municipalities, please provide this information to your boards and ask them to take this into consideration, because the Watershed Institute, which the commission has taken their model ordinance, that is being implemented in towns within the state of New Jersey. The Watershed Institute has spent a lot of time and money to do this work already. And, I'm hoping that this document just won't go on a shelf and collect dust. So again, I applaud the commissioners. I thank Princeton Hydro for putting the proposal together, but I encourage all of you as municipal representatives to ensure that we have stronger stormwater ordinances within the 4 towns around the lake. Thank you.
Anyone else? Close the public meeting.
Nope, I don't see anyone else.
All right, close it. Let's close the public.
Okay.
The public meeting's closed?
Yes.
Okay, now, the next thing I saw was action items. Do we have any action items requiring our action?
Yes, we have 3 resolutions for the meeting dates. I don't know if everybody had time to review those. Still keeping with the second Monday of every month. The official newspapers and also the budget approval, which we already passed.
Budget approval, we should have done it now, but it's okay. So right now, we're just approving the meeting calendar and what else?
And the official newspaper, same, what we do each January.
Okay. Is there a motion on move those items?
So
Accept
moved.
those items?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any comments, questions? Let's call a roll, please.
Mr. Crowley,
Yes.
Fish,
Yes.
Solaro,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Wazowski,
Yes.
Crofts,
Yes.
Steinbaum,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Tessier,
Yes.
Will Susan,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Is there anything that we have prior to adjournment now to deal with?
The executive session, if we can get Murphy on.
Well, I texted him and told him to call. I don't hear from him, so
Can we set another date, Ron, to meet with him?
yes, we
before
will.
next
We'll have to
month?
have we're gonna have to have a special meeting now because I'll deal with him in the morning. He's got to, I think the best thing for him is he's got to be at a computer, not on a phone, because
Yeah,
those
get
connections.
him to a laptop. I agree.
He's got to get to a laptop. He can't, because the phone is not a good solid connection. But I'll get to him tomorrow and we'll have to schedule something, unfortunately. But it's important, if it's timely, we got to get to it.
Yeah, I think if we can schedule that this week or early next week,
I'll
yeah,
call him in the morning, yep, and you can reach out for him too. Is there
And
anything?
if you could get 2 dates, Ron, then we could make sure.
Make sure they're like a Monday, because we're kind of used to saving Mondays.
Yeah,
Maybe
Monday's
next Monday?
good.
Maybe
Yeah.
next Monday.
Okay. And and if it's at 5 o'clock, maybe he could still be at the office. and
At
use
5
his
o'clock.
desktop.
All right, let's see if we can get it earlier. You're right. Okay,
Then he won't be out with his phone.
yes.
All
Okay,
right, I'll reach out to his office in the morning too. And
go ahead, do that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else before we adjourn?
No.
You got a
Because
motion
Fred's
to
going to be
adjourn?
picking up a copy.
I
Pick up
make
a
a
copy
motion
of
we
Robert's
adjourn.
rules. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Aye.